Alrighty, hello everyone. It is the storm before the calm today. We've got a boatload of cards to talk about. Spoilers from the last 24 or so hours. I have three guests who I'm looking forward to chatting about this absolute boatload of scoops with. And I'm hoping everyone has a good time tonight. I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves, talk a little bit about when they got into Netrunner, and then also what their favorite deck is, which is maybe a slight swerve on the question I started with, but it's close enough from the pre-chat. Coldlava, would you mind introducing yourself to the stream?
Sure. Hello, I'm Coldlava. He, him.
Oh, hold on. You are microscopically quiet. That's slightly on my end, but I might need you to get closer to your mic.
Try again. Hello.
Okay, I'm going to try turning you all the way up. Let's try that.
Testing. If not, I might need to go find a different mic.
Yeah, can you check your mic settings, and then we'll do Thoth, and then we'll come back to you, I think.
Sure. Hey, I'm Thoth or Aaron in the real world. Either one's fine with me. He, him is great. I first got into Netrunner back when the cards were purple and green with silver borders. So I'm old. I think I probably still have those decks in the closet somewhere. Fell out of the game. I mean, never got super heavy into it. And kind of got back into it with Veronica hyping it up in the Arkham community when Parhelion was coming out. So I jumped back in. Then I kind of kept up with the game a little bit on and off over the years. Tried buying the core set when Revised Core came out, and then FFG lost the license, yada, yada, yada. I'd say my favorite deck that I've played in a while is Deep Dive Stable. I had a lot of fun building that when Parhelion and Midnight Sun came out. So, yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. All right, Thrantar, let's go to you.
All right, hello. I'm Thrantar, he, him. I got into Netrunner around the start of the Borealis cycle. I've been getting a little bit dissatisfied with other TCGs and was looking for something new. As far as my personal favorite decks, I really have two decks I'm going to shout out. One, Big Beal. Big Beal's great. I love scoring Beal for 7. And then on the runner side, I really like building around Kashyyyk. It's a really fun build around card.
Yeah, that's a classic build around that, like, you know, if it hadn't been Power Creep out of existence, I think we'd see a lot more, because it's a fun little deck building challenge. So definitely like it. All right, Coldlava, should we take another stab and see how your mic's working?
How's this?
Oh, way better. Way better.
All right. I'm Coldlava. He, him. I started playing Netrunner in the System Gateway era around like 2021. And my favorite deck is probably Rush Ob. Especially the versions that had some sort of kill threat as well.
Cool. Actually, I'm kind of curious. For the ones that have a kill threat, like what has been your favorite version of that kind of kill threat? Because I think of Rush Off as a very vegan deck, but I know there's people that have played it more killy than I do.
Well, I mean, this was the old deck from like the Boom era when you could play Biotic Boom and still have Oak Towns.
Yeah.
But yeah, not modernly, just
cool. Oh yeah. The Biotic Bass combo kill things that you could also do. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a true mountain of scoops to talk about today. This first one comes courtesy of, I want to say, GLC today. This one's pretty recent, or it came out pretty recently today. This is Charm Offensive. It is a 0-cost Anarch run event. It says run archives. When that run ends, You may trash one res copy of a card you accessed in archives during that run. And I'll use what I have to get what I want is the flavor text, and it is 2 influence. Who's got some first thoughts about this card, be it the art, the theme, the effect? Kind of curious to see who's got stuff to say about this.
My first thought is Toppan's in a lot of art. See, they are everywhere, which is cool.
I'm trying to think,
like seeing the runners popping up in different art. I think a lot of them will be in cards we're going to talk about tonight, actually.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, like, it makes some sense that, like, hey, we're putting all these new runners out. Let's make sure they show up on cards that they're, that's in the set with them. So.
Yeah. But also, I noticed it doesn't say, I guess this is my rules, not super deep knowledge. Are face-up agendas considered res?
So face-up agendas are not considered resed. This comes up in a couple. Yeah, so face-up agendas are neither resed nor unresed because they don't have a resed state. This is like one of those weird peculiarities in Netrunner is like face-up cards with a res cost are res. Face-up cards without a res cost are not resed.
Got it. So no sneakily trashing Bangan's face-up agendas, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can't like get an agenda face up in archives and then trash Bangun's face up agenda that's in their remote.
Right. Well, there goes my fun idea.
I mean, it is a fun idea. I think there's going to be some other applications for this too.
My
first
thought. I was gonna say my first thought on seeing this card is that in crew charm decks, it seems really strong, but just being able to trash an ice, then run archives with this and trash another copy of that ice on the board, so that you don't have to use a crew. It's just more copies of crew for you.
Yeah, no, that definitely is an interaction that seems pretty powerful. Your opponent reses 2 brands against you. You trash one with an Aquaceres crew, and then you get to take the second one down with Charm Offensive. Definitely seems like a pretty strong combo. I see a question in the chat. Do you have to pay trash cost for Charm Offensive? Nope. You just trash the card, or trash a res copy of the card. You don't have to pay trash cost or anything else. It's similar to Imp in that, it's just trash the card you're accessing. It just doesn't have the you're accessing text. It has a different clause on how the trash works. And because all 3 of you are, I will say, newer era Netrunner players, you probably didn't know that this card immolation script existed. Or maybe you did and didn't feel like it was super relevant. It was never a card that saw basically any competitive standard play, but is a bit of a somewhat similar event to this, which is make one an archive. Sorry, can you say that again?
Could not hit ice.
Or it could only hit ice. It couldn't hit upgrades and assets.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. It also replaced the archives access, which I guess is a slight difference in power too.
Yeah, I kind of heard about that after when I first saw this card. It seemed really strong, and then people were talking about how immolation script never saw play. That kind of surprised me, but I was kind of wondering if it was in a meta where trashing ice was a big thing, because if you're not already trashing ice on the board, it might not be that helpful. Or if just trashing some ice but being able to break ice, you might be better off just with other money in your deck. But it seems like we've been in a meta where an all-in trash ice deck is possible, and this seems better kind of in that sort of realm.
One thing I really like about Charm Offensive is the way it sort of naturally scales up over the course of the game, as both there are more cards that are resed, and cards naturally trend towards archives. Like I think very early in the game, this does not do all that much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's like a pretty good point that like this is a pretty powerful card towards the end of the game, but much more narrow kind of the late game as sorry. It's narrow in the early game and pretty potentially impactful in the late game. So that should be interesting. I also
And if you're looking at this, sorry, go ahead.
no, please.
I was gonna say, if you're sort of looking at this as a sort of a pseudo pinhole, as sort of more of a tech card to help disassemble remotes, if you're looking at something like Skunk Void, I know a lot of the PD lists were only on, one Anoetic Void, maybe two. You can't necessarily find the second copy in archives to disassemble whatever the corp is trying to put together. If they have tutoring abilities, if they have singletons. I'm thinking about things like Loki Ag in the past, where they tutor up the one copy of Loki with, Wave or other ice tutors.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is an interesting thing where it's like I think it's like, if you think about like, oh, this was like a, in another card game where like 4 of is like the normal deck limit. It's like, okay, that probably means in most games you're seeing 2 copies of every card. But even at a 3x in Netrunner, like it's not implausible that like you find 1 copy and then you like don't find your other 2 copies until like the final turn of the game. Or if you're just running 2 copies of an ice, for example, like, oh yeah, the second one may never turn up, or it may never turn up when this is relevant, which I think is kind of interesting for evaluating this card. That said, like if the corp discards a Wage Workers, and you just like they res another one on the board, you're like, oh great, I get to trash a second. Like this Charm Offensive was a sure gamble in terms of value, which seems pretty good. So I don't know. I think the like broadening of the trigger condition seems pretty interesting. I also want to share that safe in the chat, going like this flavor text like sculpts Topon's character quite a bit, which I think is like it does that pretty well for a 1 sentence unattributed line of text. So.
Yeah.
And I think this does a really good job of just telling the story of what's happening. Like the name tells us, and then in the art we see the security guard being distracted, and then we see some people in the background sneaking into some sort of vault or secured door.
Yeah, no, it's using every inch of the canvas, so to speak, to like tell a story, and it's a nice like compact one page story. So, all right, let's move on to the next card. This is Gourmand. This is my new favorite little web, cyberspace guy, I think. This is a 0 cost 1 MU program. It has access, trash the non-agenda card you are accessing. If you do, draw 1 card, and it is 2 influence. And its flavor text is a bunch of hexadecimal that I think when translated from assembly is basically a don't feed this thing after midnight joke, which I think is a great little callback, or reference.
Question. I'm all for more weird little guys in Netrunner.
Yeah, this
also,
is such.
I believe there have already been demands for plushies.
Right next to the Keiko.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, there's. Keep an eye out. We've got the OP's got a fun idea with Gourmand. I'm hoping it comes to pass. But, yeah, plushies is not on the current list, but maybe I'll talk to our plushie guy and see what we can do. Because I'm sure everyone wants a plushie of a 6-armed devilish smiling creature in a chef's hat holding a knife.
Is that 6 arms? Yeah, I guess that is 6 arms. Okay. So this is a sort of pseudo imp replacement.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Being a program you install and kind of sits around and then gives you crashes in the future. I think it's actually going to play really differently. For a couple of reasons. One, like Gourmand is simply not a virus. You can just pre-install it at will, and it will sit around in play, assuming you have the MU to hold on to it for a turn or two, till you're ready to take that free trash. As opposed to Imp, where sometimes you had to worry about pre-installing, because like then you're opening up the corp to just do a value purge, or fire a mav for value, or whatever. And like if you don't immediately install Imp and then run that same turn, you maybe don't get the Imp value.
Yeah, I think that's a bit.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like that this is.
Oh,
more
sorry. Go
aggressive.
ahead, please.
This feels much more aggressive to me, which I like. Like you're not sitting back trying to pump up your imp and keep reloading it, and paying for it up front. Also, this being 0 cost is a big deal. But this just this replaces itself. It comes down faster. This just feels like a much more aggressive, more like accelerated way to play with a kind of cards like that, which I think fits both with Phoenix especially, but also it just feels more interactive.
Yeah, and I've seen, I think it was Toron I saw calling out that it might be good in Arasana just because I think it's influence cheaper than Imp, so it's a little easier to import.
Yeah.
And you're only gonna get 1 trash out of it anyway, so if you install it during the run and then use it up, it's not gonna get trashed to Arasana. You got its use out of it.
Although that does give you very little control over what you're trashing. Like you're just saying, whatever thing I'm touching, I'm trashing it and drawing a card.
Yeah.
Yeah, but spending 2 influence to trash something and draw a card is not like the worst, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of like a very strange inverted by any means, I guess. But
that's fair.
And you have enough recursion in Arasana that you keep trashing other things, I'm sure of it.
I think it's also like it's kind of interesting when you compare the cost. Let's like Imp is cost. Apparently, the second virus counter on Imp is worth 2 credits. So like, it's funny. It's like I actually think most of that cost probably is the virus synergy. Like being able to cookbook an Imp, like is a pretty big deal. Turning 2 trashes into 3 feels like a big deal versus like, oh, just 1 card trash feels a little bit like, oh, I'm kind of losing out on a tempo game. But at the same time, like, I mean, this art alone makes me want to play it, and Imp has been at times just a very strong player in the meta. So
actually, coming back to the cost for 1 second, Gourmand is 0. That's cheaper than Imp, but that also means that you can't. It's much harder to get free value, barring Bling, doing anything with Gourmand. Like you can't install it for cheap off the price. You can't gachapon into it. You can't use up 2 counters, then sell it to Aesop's or now Knickknack or whatever. It's you install it, you pay nothing, it trashes itself, you get a card back, and it's much harder to sort of build additional synergy on top of it.
yeah, I think that's a very good observation.
Think I don't maybe I missed that someone mentioned it, but the other big downside that Gourmand has versus Imp is the word non-agenda card.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's a big one.
That was for a while when mulch decks were popular, just imping all the agendas away versus NBN was how you won the game.
Yeah, that's actually a really big point. Was like, yeah, Imp was one of the main tools that like not just mulch, like also Hive Mind Max often had that game plan in certain matchups. Where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna. I think it was often against like the Jinteki matchups. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna imp every Obokata into the bin, because like I maybe can't even steal them anymore. I'm out of cards in my deck, but I can just imp them all in the bin and no one can win, and so I'll win eventually. So like that is a big limiter on Gourmand.
Although that'll depend on sort of the agenda suite and how many agendas in the agenda suite have some sort of Punisher effect that we want to dodge in this fashion.
Well, I think an interesting thing about this is also, it's like one of the big reasons you imped away all the agendas was not because like you couldn't afford to steal them or because the Punisher on the agenda itself was too bad, but like going to threat 3 could just like end your game at the wrong time. And so like Gourmand not being able to like disrupt the threat play pattern of the game, I think is kind of interesting. All right. Well, because we have 16 cards, I'm going to keep us moving here. This is was spoiled by Neon Static. This is Cacophony. This is a 3-cost virtual resource. It says the first time each turn you steal or trash a corp card, place 1 power counter on this resource. When your action phase ends, you remove 2 hosted power counters to sabotage 3. And then Nil Sir, Black Noise, Lost Girls, Drowned Boys, Ryo Phoenix, Ono. This is a 4 influence Anarch card.
I feel like this is what I wanted or imagined Time Bomb to be. Like this seems very similar to Time Bomb, but it gets to repeat without you having to find another one. Different conditions, but just the fact that you put it down, and after some amount of time, I'm going to do a chunk of sabotage.
3 is a big number.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cards.
Yes, there's a couple interesting things I'm noticing here. One is that specifically you may remove 2 hosted power counters to sabotage 3. This means that if you have 2 hosted power counters, you have the option of keeping them on your Cacophony so you can charge it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Oh yeah,
so like
power counters.
if you, yeah, I mean maybe this is a Padma card. You never know,
I'm looking
right?
at this as a Padma card.
Influence.
And honestly, I'm really hoping that this is not a good deck. I want this deck to not exist. But
Yeah, charging it is one thing. Another thing that I think you would often try to do with Time Bomb is time it to line up with a Chastushka, so you can just hit a bunch of sabotage in one turn. And since you can, like you said, delay when it's a May on the power counters, if you're not ready to use it yet, wait a turn, get your Chastushka, and then kind of hit it for 7 in one turn.
Yeah, sabotage is definitely one of those effects for people. It's like, yeah, 1 sabotage is not that good. 3 sabotage is pretty good on its own, I think, most of the time. And then, like, 7 sabotage is, I mean, there's almost guaranteed to be, yeah, that's almost guaranteed to be an agenda, and is 1/7 of the corp deck about. So that's pretty good.
So I guess I'm looking at a couple other things here. One, this is a very generous wording on it's the stealer or trash, but it's any trash. This is not trash a card you're accessing. So like you can Stargate with this, for instance.
Yeah, Stargate's a good shout out. Crew is also a card that works with this. Though interestingly, Sabotage itself doesn't work with this. Which is, good. It's probably good that it's not self-synergistic.
I
Because
would have to do 3 hosted power counters if sabotage counted.
maybe even more than 3, honestly.
Yeah, maybe.
Phoenix also sadly does not work with it, even though this seems to be a Phoenix themed card.
Yeah, because Phoenix is the corp trash as a card. But I do think Phoenix
Is there a good
works
way
well
to
with
trigger this during the
sabotage.
turn?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Thoth.
definitely.
Is there a good way to trigger this during the corp turn? So you can get 2 counters per cycle?
Crashing a corp card during the corp turn?
They click your detente and you steal an agenda.
Yeah, that you click the Detente, you like access some card with the trash cost and trash it.
Yeah, classically an old example would be something like political operative, which is a payability window trash. But I don't think there's any effects like this in standard that we've seen. So yeah, I think it's probably just a taunt. Sebastian is asking, if you trash a runner card hosting a corp card, is the corp card considered trashed by the game or by the runner? And its hosted cards are trashed by the game. So if you have a detente, and it has a bunch of corp cards on it, and then you just overwrite it, nobody actually trashed those. The game went in and said, oh, no, these are in a legal state. Let's go and do that. So that is unfortunately a slight bummer for people trying to do that as a combo. But yeah, any other final thoughts on Cacophony?
Just a couple of quick thoughts. This is a virtual resource. I believe we still have a few things that care about virtuals in the card pool. If you want to build your rig of a Duray or whatever, or Gachapon, another great shout.
Does ScapeNet hit this? Yeah, cool. ScapeNet's time to shine. Everyone thought they were done with traces, and yet here it comes.
And also, just 3 is a very nice price point. Yes, 3 is a very nice price point.
Because you feel like that's a meaningful amount for runners to install?
No,
or...
you just play the price.
Oh, I'm sorry. Been a long day for me, apparently. All right. Well, I think that's the last Anarch card to talk about. I think that... Actually, let me check the set number. I think that's also just the last Anarch card overall. No, it's not. I'm sorry. We have... The next card is the last Anarch card to talk about, and the last Anarch card in the set. This is Rent Rioters. It is a 2-cost resource connection CD. And its text is just click, 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 trash, gain 9 credits. Flavor text, in the end, they raised the rent and we were out on the street. But the riots had tanked property values so much that we moved back in with a better deal. This is a 1 influence card.
Welcome back, day job.
Yeah.
Let me go and pull up day job. My goodness. Yeah, this is very much a somewhere between. Actually, yeah, this is okay. So this is 1 credit fewer than day job, but it's a little bit more flexible and probably has more like in-faction synergies in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I wasn't around when day job was legal, but my understanding is it didn't really see play. So when I first looked at this, it definitely looked like it had a bit of a low payout, but like you said, resources I think definitely synergize more in faction, including with on the card again, Topon, being able to install this for free, and I think that Anarch also has a couple other cards that will recur resources, but maybe not events. Like the archives were an event from the last set that I'm blanking on the name of.
Privileged
Yes,
access.
that everyone calls
Yeah, that one.
Praxis. Yeah, thank you. I think I need to actually just put Praxis in my card lookup dictionary so that I can remember what it's called. I hated that name at the start, but now it's the only one that sticks. So, and yeah, people were asking, this got spoiled, I believe, in the UK Stim Slack channel. They had people pose as other cards and then release this as a little prize. So yeah, Praxis will do this. Sebastiao also doesn't hate this card, potentially. I mean, I think Sebastiao is very click-starved, so he may not actually look at this card too seriously. But it is a connection. But that connection does also mean it is actually anti-synergistic with Paladin Poemu, which might be a bit tricky. And I do also see people in the chat shouting out Julie, who does work with this. So you can, still have one click if you're going to fire this off all in one turn. But yeah.
Yeah, although still being 1 click to install and then 3 clicks to use, like this lets you pre-install it in a way that you couldn't with Daydrop. My understanding was that part of the problem with Daydrop was like the turn you played Daydrop, you were not running ever. And Rent Riders, you can have Rent Riders already in play, and then spend the triple, and then make your run last click with these 9 extra credits. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an actually pretty good position for the runner in a lot of cases, where it's like, yeah, I was probably gonna draw, play a sure gamble, and it's like, well, this is a little bit better if that was going to be your play pattern, and you still have the click to be interactive with. All right. Well, let's move on. We have, I believe, one more criminal card in this set to talk about, and then we're going to be moving on to corp cards. All right. This is Maintenance Access. This is a 0-cost run event double, and it says, as additional cost to play this event, spend click. Run archives. When you would approach archives, parenthetically, after passing all ice, instead change the attack server to HQ and approach HQ. And then the flavor text, don't let self-respect get in the way of a good shortcut. Go for Orion. This is a 3-influence criminal card. I'm going to start by just saying I love the art on this. It's not inside job toilet joke, but I kind of like the joke. I like the implied joke on this a little bit more, honestly. And I also just think the art is very, I don't know, it's very in a style that I enjoy and creates a cyberspace feeling world.
Yeah, is this
Very
the
cool.
Is this the same artist as Steel Skin? I'm getting that kind of vibe. I could be wrong.
I should remember because we actually had a conversation about this on another night, but no, it's different artists. But this is someone who's definitely done art for NSG before, so I'm going to go and look that up while you three talk about the card.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, Grim gets to run HQ. It seems pretty good. I feel like sometimes people would run Sneak Door almost as a cantrip, where they install it, run archives. They might use it once or twice before archives gets iced up, and then kind of ditch it. And that 2 MU and 4 credits was a huge cost. Though playing one of these doesn't force the corp to base archive, so you kind of lose that benefit.
So this is, yeah,
Okay, so I
Mauricio.
think
Sorry, I'm just gonna very quickly
go ahead.
jump in. Mauricio has done, say, B1001, Friend of a Friend, Working Prototype, Hearts and Minds. Also, actually did Auto Campaign, so I really should recognize that art. But and yeah, did the OG Armitage code busting bank job. Mauricio has done a ton of Netrunner art, and a lot of it is some real bangers. So anyway, apologies, didn't mean to interrupt too much.
For me, the comparison point for maintenance access is not Sneak Door Beta, it's Divide and Conquer.
One
And
second,
my
pulling
question,
that up.
yep,
No, please keep
is-
going.
maintenance access gets me a proper run on HQ that's neat. I can like trash upgrades in the root of HQ. I can unflip Nebula or Earth Station. This is kind of cool, I guess. But I feel like most of the reason why I go to HQ, like why I'm making runs on HQ, why I'm trying to get into HQ, is because I actually want to touch the cards in HQ and access them, steal agendas, like understand if the corp's trying to, like if I see an end of the line, that's something I'm very happy to know, even if I can't interact with it. And Divide and Conquer saw very little play. And again, is probably about equally able, since Divide and Conquer is a full breach, to be amplified by other effects, by multi-access. Like, it's a run event, so you can't stack it with events. That breaches, so you can stack it with breach enhancers. And the same is true for maintenance access. And Divide and Conquer saw a little bit of play, but was a single and was not tearing up the meta, and also got you into R&D.
Thoth, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts about this card or about this comparison is.
Yeah, this is one that I very briefly had a chance to talk with a couple people on another server about. They definitely pointed out the sneak door comparisons, like the cost and the technically to access to get a play sneak door and then go make a run. I think I'm looking at this and I see we have a runner with run synergy in the set, obviously. As someone who enjoys making runs on all the servers as a stable enjoyer, I look at this and I think about ways to get those extra cards on breach, even if I'm targeting the wrong server, and be able to avoid all the ice that comes down on turn 1 on HQ when I'm playing criminals.
Yeah,
Also, I think that floor is shiny.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
The floor is very shiny. That's one
Yes,
of the things I know about the art.
Yeah.
But this is cool. I'm like 0 cost double one event that sneaks around HQ ice seems. I'm interested. I want to try it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just gonna quickly respond to Diogen and say like, why is maintenance a double? Why the nerf? I mean, Sneak Door Beta is secretly a double, right? It just doesn't say that on the card explicitly. I suspect also it's a little bit to curb the power of deep dive decks, because maintenance access, like I think this is a big thing compared to like something like Divide and Conquer. Is that like getting the successful run trigger on HQ, which is what maintenance access does, is pretty meaningful for like quite a bit of cards, which is including Détente, which we've talked about. It matters, I think mattering for Nebula. Nebula to me looks like a scary ID. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, I don't know. And then we have there. People have shouted out some other cards. Like Magletric Rapid also triggers off of this. So I think getting a successful run trigger on HQ is a pretty like criminal coded thing. So I think this probably has some role, but I'll be interested to see. But Coldlava, I also have butted in before you got a chance to talk at all, so I want to make sure you get a chance.
I talked a bit, but yeah, I think the other thing I think seeing also in the chat is the MU hit, modernly especially, kind of mid to late game when you would want this effect. You probably don't need it on turn 1 or 2. You're gonna start to have your breakers down. You're gonna have your Cheslas down, since that's what Criminal normally wants installed. And finding the room for 2 MU is just, it's very hard in a Criminal rig, and that's probably what's been pushing Sneak Door out of the meta. Being able to play this without having to sacrifice your MU is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a big deal, especially because we can't have, one MU break all the ice rigs anymore. It becomes way, way harder to just be like, oh yeah, just throw out your other cards. And it's like, well, if I'm playing it as a 1x and it doesn't show up at the right time, that does seem like a potential problem. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be very curious to see where this card lands. It's something I'm reasonably high on, but all right. Should we move on to the start of our corp cards for tonight?
Or what do the corps have
Yeah.
in store for us?
All right, well, first up, they have aggressive trend setting. This comes courtesy of Neon Static once again. This is a 3/1 agenda initiative. The first time the runner trashes an installed corp card during each of their turns, they may spend click. If they do not, you get +1 click allotted for your next turn. And don't tell me you were at the gala, darling. I must not have seen you. So yeah, this is a new look for HB, a 3/1 that looks to be quite taxing, I feel like. So who wants to take a first swing at this one?
So I'll put up the I guess the elephant in the room is Ares AR Lab access. Or not Ares is the AR Lab. AR
Enhanced security. Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry.
which is essentially not exactly this card in yellow. That one, the first time, if you were clearing the tag, first time you trash a corp, you have to spend a click and 2 credits. This one, you don't have to spend the 2 credits, which is nice, but the punishment of a click is in some ways worse than a tag, because a click is almost built-in tag punishment. If you give the corp a click and they could just fast advance out an agenda, they didn't need another card to do that. Well, the agenda. But with Ares, especially late in the game, you may be able to just start floating tags if you get to a certain point where you're just trying to win, and pray they don't have tag punishment, be able to handle the tag punishment. But here you're just giving them the ability to fast advance anything.
Yeah, this seems mean was my first thought. Also, can we get the lady in the purple dress? Can we get her reaction image, please, on every server everywhere?
Yeah, that would make a good little reaction thumbnail.
So I do think, as much as the sort of innate punishment of aggressive trend setting is a little bit better, certainly a click has a lot of intrinsic value to the corp, but a tag doesn't quite. I do think the trigger is appreciably worse, because aggressive trend setting only cares about installed corp cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is a big difference. And I also, like, there's a part of me that's like, hey, if I can, like, R&D lock the corp, what do I care if they have an extra click? Like, and R&D locking does seem a little bit, like, Spin Doctor is always going to break it. But it is a little bit, like, I think there's more avenues of, maybe there's not, because there's tends to be a lot of dedicated tag tech and maybe less dedicated click loss tech on the runner side. But I don't know, I'm like, AR enhanced security was more like, the runner loses a click and 2 credits. If they don't, they might lose the game. So like, I'm a little bit amused when I see people like dooming and like being like, oh man, this is gonna be like the worst experience ever in Netrunner. Like, well, we played with AR for years, and like it wasn't my favorite game in Netrunner, but it wasn't even when it got scored, it didn't end the game on the spot. So I'm kind of curious to see why people feel like this is so much more punishing.
I think this is you can very definitely play into this. Again, like this is something I'm looking at Stargate. Like if we're looking about locking R&D, Stargate is just where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean Stargate's definitely getting some nice pulls in this set.
The 3-1s are just not. It's not a good agenda shape usually. Like it has to have a good ability because it's bad in your agenda density. Like you only have so many slots to fit in your deck, and this is eating up a lot of them.
Cool. Any other thoughts from the crowd, or not the crowd? That's but
to talk about to switch gears and talk about the art for a second. Is that a aquarium dress? Is the way I read it? It looks like there's an octopus on the front there, and
Yes, it 100% is an aquarium dress, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure how clearly it's showing up on because y'all are probably stuck with a bit of a smaller feet. But yeah, there's an octopus on the front. It looks like there's like a school of fish along the right shoulder, maybe with a little bit of like seaweed in there. So yeah, that is. I mean, that'd be quite the fashion statement.
I mean, frankly, I'm really impressed by like human biomodding or metamaterials or something. That much water is heavy.
That's true, actually. That would be a very heavy
a 40,
outfit.
50 pound dress. Like, trivially.
Just gotta don't skip leg day.
Like, water is well, okay, I'll reveal that I'm American here, but it's about 8 pounds to the gallon.
Yeah. Well, you know, in addition to aggressively trend setting, she's also aggressively, weightlifting and putting on that style. But all right, should we move on to? I think it's the last H. Actually, wait. I'm gonna double check myself.
The secret reason you have fashion bioroids is because they can physically carry off fashions that no one else can.
Yeah. All right. I was just saying the last HB card, but no, we've got 2 more HB cards to go. So next up, we've got on maybe a sleeper favorite art in the set, Bumi 1.0. This is a 3-cost, 3-strength Sentry Bioroid AP Destroyer. When you res this ice during a run against the server, you may trash 1 installed Trojan program. Okay, never mind. This is not allowed to be my favorite card in the set anymore. Lose, click, break 1 subroutine on this ice. Only the runner can use this ability. Subroutine, trash 1 installed program. Subroutine, do 1 core damage. And the flavor text, you dare. This is a 1 influence card.
1 influence bargain.
Wait, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, this can go anywhere. So if you were thinking that maybe Arasana wasn't going to struggle, because at least Magnet's going. I mean, I don't know that you'll see Bumi nearly as much as you saw Magnet, but there's still some hate out there for everyone's favorite street artist.
I was almost really excited for a 3-cost Sentry and Ob, and then I remembered the reason that I want a 3-cost Sentry and Ob is leaving.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, yep.
This is a hard
Can you
one.
bring up Magnet for 1 second for me?
Yeah, of course. Magnet seems like a very good comparison point to this card. Same res, same strength, same influence. They both deal with Trojans effectively. but very different subroutines, and one is obviously a bioroid.
There is also one moderately relevant difference here, which is Magnet's trigger condition is much broader.
That's a good
Bumi
point.
is when you rest dice during a run against this server.
Oh.
I guess that mostly matters for Ob and other decks playing. I feel like Tucana is like the other big stuff, but maybe I'm missing some other off-turn res effects that are relevant.
There's a couple others of which at least some are rotating. No one's going to pull out quarantine system for this. But yeah, it definitely matters for Ob. Tucana's seeing a good bit of play, but even like send a message. There are times when you just sort of lead a send a message somewhere, and res a magnet and it grabs something. And can you res a Bumi and grab something? Maybe, but
Yeah, that
And-
definitely
and you certainly
seems less nice.
and like you still don't feel like you're getting away with something if you score or steal a send a message, and you look at your ice and go, it's a magnet. This is not. This is not your dream when you put send a message into your deck, but also accelerated deployment test, another.
Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's splashing this. As much as it's a comparison to Magnet, I think it's also worth comparing it to Jaguarundi. I guess Jaguarundi is more expensive and gives a tag, but they both do a core damage. And I was going to say this core damage is a little less conditional, but it's not, because if it's firing, you're getting the core either way with Jaguarundi. But Jaguarundi starts with.
I was gonna say, and Bumi also has the like bioroid fallback like downside to it as well. So like Bumi kind of feels like it's like if you can make a corp deck where the runner is like, oh yeah, I'll run last click, like then Bumi is maybe a card you could think about splat, and you're also having problems with Trojans. Bumi seems like maybe you might want to splash it, but even then it's like, I don't know. I feel like, the corp reses, I click so I don't lose my program if I have any installed, and I take a core and say, okay, we'll keep moving. And I already kind of had baked in I need to break a 3-cost 2-sub sentry at some point into my deck, which definitely poses some challenges for Bumi.
Timing wise, this like and play pattern wise, I think this is just kind of worse against Arasana in a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like, Arasana goes no install, and then you res plug in nothing, and then Arasana installs whatever she wants. Whereas like Verse Magnet, okay, she could install it. It's being installed into a magnet where it's gonna do what exactly? Yeah.
Yeah. Like Magnet would like if Arsenal was hoping to get through with a Physarum, Magnet would be a cold stop. Bumi would do basically nothing. So we'll see. But
Or like Slap Vandal diffuses Bumi. Some not a perfect answer, but
yeah.
And it's definitely been mentioned in the chat, but we haven't mentioned it here yet. Leo is in this set, and it's just a cheap end the run from low Earth orbit construction.
Yeah, Leo does seem like this feels like a Leo support card in that, like, we want to give them or give this corporation one cheaper than 5-cost bioroid, and in terms of playable bioroids, I think they start at 6 cost, which is pretty tough.
And like I definitely think Leo construction is very interested in sort of this more sort of tech positioned bioroid, because when it's good as tech ice, you could just have it as tech ice, and when it's bad as tech ice, It's a border control. Border control's good. Whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. Being if we get more techie bioroids, that definitely helps Elio a bit. Very cool. Well, while we're talking about Elio border controls, I feel like we should maybe talk about the next card, which I would say is even, almost definitively a card that I feel like it does have non-border control text on it, but it does feel pretty border control-y to me. It is Mercia Ballard, a 2-cost upgrade bioroid academic. When your action phase ends, you may install 1 piece of ice from HQ, paying 1 credit less. If you do, move this upgrade to the root of the server that piece of ice is protecting. It's 2 influence, 2 to trash, and the flavor text is, my predecessor had passion, imagination, ambition. I assure you, I possess no such flaws.
So I actually want to start by talking about the flavor text here, because that is a great piece of flavor text, because buried subtly within it is what's classically the greatest sin. It's pride.
That's interesting.
I possess no such flaws.
It's very fun. And yeah, it is also a good reference to one of the other runners on the other side of the table. So pretty cool.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, working the beanstalk right there.
Yeah.
I also want to jump in, unsurprisingly, I'm sure, about the art and flavor on the card. Like, where is she? This office is covered in flowers. They've got this beautiful archway in the background. This is like a buck wild office. And
I mean,
the academic stuff is also really interesting to me.
Presumably, the chief architect office of the Beanstalk, it's that's an important position, so you probably get a pretty cushy office.
Yeah.
I'll admit I'm not up on my flower symbolism, but I know there is a long and moderately well established language of flowers. If anyone could read those flowers and let me know what they're saying, I'd appreciate it, and get back to me, please.
I'm not sure what they're saying, but they're purple orchids.
Oh, are they orchids? I can't quite tell in this resolution.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, and I think in terms of a card, we can probably start the conversation with Elio probably plays at least 2 copies of this. I think,
Yeah.
putting your ice down, and then also being able to throw away your bioroid for some border control action seems like a pretty good start. But yeah, I'm curious what other people's thoughts on the uses of this card might be.
So there's one thing I just sort of touch on briefly that this card reminded me of, is that in Elevation we've seen, I think, a lot more when your turn ends triggers than we have historically, and this is another one of them. So when your action phase ends, you may install 1 piece of ice from HQ, paying 1 less. In some ways, this actually reminds me of almost like Jinja City Grid.
Yeah.
Where this is offering me, cheaper ice installed in specific locations based around how I've set up my servers. Obviously, the particulars are very different. This doesn't go quite as tall, although you can still use it to go a little bit tall.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think also it's the ice you install can be a brand new server. So for people like me who don't want to give up playing fully operational, maybe this is a little bit of a fully operational card. But
If you do that, would you play it in poetry?
Probably.
Stay in Leo.
No, I don't think I would play Leo horizontally. I would think I would rather take an ID that gives me more installs.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's an interesting way to do it. The other thing, well, there's a little meta reading of the text, but it just says to me it's weird that it's when your action phase ends as opposed to your discard phase. I feel like usually they do discard phase unless there's a reason it should be action phase, and I can't quite figure out why.
I think the advantage of doing it at the end of your action phase is if you are overdrawn, you still get to go and move.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that makes.
Yeah, that's what I expect.
Yeah. All right. I have been pinged to get to something because I forgot that I said I was free at 9 for something. We're not going to rush too much, but we're going to try and keep things moving. I've let them know I'm going to be a little bit late, but we've got a great card to talk about here. We've got Proprio. This is a 4 cost or a 4 advancement, 2-point agenda security, and its rules text is using mindfulness to waste my enemies. So yeah, I don't know. This seems like a pretty powerful effect. I'm curious what other people's thoughts are.
It might get banned. Like it's just taking up the space of see how they run, and with see how they run, you had to import end the line to waste your enemies. But mindfulness is within the Kentucky color buy, so you don't even have to spend influence.
Yeah, that's fair. Just like a little bit, just use some in-faction tools and just instantly kind of win the game, as opposed to having to work cross-faction and like having to do it like across turns. Yeah, it definitely seems like a big power jump.
I'm just feeling a bit of a flavor disconnect in that, like, 4 advancements for 2 points doesn't feel very mindful.
What's the mindful ratio for you? Is it like a 5-3? Is that more mindful?
I think, like, I don't know. It's just something feels off about the numbers. I can't quite put my finger on it. It seems a little too aggressive to be mindful. But I guess they are wasting their enemy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's, it's like that tradition of like, of monks that were like warrior monks kind of thing, where it's like, oh yeah, we're mindful, but we're also going to like, slice you up. But
I could buy that.
All right. Well, I've been told there's another card, also called Proprio, which seems a little rude for a new player core set. But it is a 4 advancement cost, 2 MU agenda security subtype. It says when you score this agenda, place 1 agenda counter on it. Host the agenda counter. The runner moves to the outermost position of archives. They approach any ice in that position. Use this ability only during a run. Flavor text: we rely too much on spatial cognition. What happens when we send that system a null signal?
They said the thing.
They said the thing. This feels like a Nisei Mark II callback.
Nisei Mark II.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So the
right. This is Proprio negation, not something else. Thank you, Meteor, for calling me out on that one.
So actually, I think with this upcoming rotation, with the elevation, least rotation, rotating all of FFG, I don't think there are any agenda subtypes that matter anymore, other than knife, of course, being an assassination agenda. But the archivist is finally leaving us, and we will not have to care about initiatives or security agendas.
We still have like 1 runner card left we haven't seen. You never know.
Okay, if it's a reprint of the Archivist, which gives Link, has a score trigger for initiative for security agendas, and also a trace for bad pub.
They'll save that for the next
I will
month
be
when they do the old man.
really flabbergasted, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems, yeah, it's pretty much Nisei, which was a good agenda that we're still seeing play. It's hard. There's minor differences between the two. I think often Proprio negation will be a bit stronger than Nisei, but there's definitely be some cases where it's a bit weaker.
It is much worse at protecting archives.
Yes.
Yes, and that is relevant for deep dive decks for sure. So that does feel much worse, but no, it definitely once you start having ice, or if we ever get any archives traps, this definitely starts to look much better.
We have the Pathinimus. Maybe this will make Pathinimus C play.
Maybe
to force the runner to deal with it.
But we've seen a bunch of there are so many good archive run events right now. Like we've seen, Charm Offensive. Like just tonight, we've seen Charm Offensive. We've seen the maintenance access or whatever it's called.
Yep.
There's privileged access. There's
oh shoot, what's her name?
Potentially. There's
Iru, right?
Iru.
Yeah. Yes. There's...
So I think it's actually very plausible that the runner is actively trying to go to archives, and you look at your score at Proprio negation and go, they can pay twice, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. We will go to peer review. This is an operation transaction, and the rules text is, ha ha ha, the numbers beneath all these posts are so stupid, don't mean anything, full of crappa. Yes, go ahead, boo me at my own TED Talk. Anyone got some initial thoughts on this one?
So honestly, the numbers are a little bit small for me, and I can't actually see the set number. But that's fine because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, obviously. No, the set number is one of those numbers. It doesn't really mean anything. I think this, it's a pretty challenge. I'm impressed that NSG we're going to just put this somewhere randomly in everyone's boxes of cards, and we're going to see how many different variations of that we can do. I also think ignoring credit totals is a pretty, that's probably more relevant for JNet, where people play with their credit totals kind of below their stuff, below where events are operations are played. Whereas when I play in Netrunner, my credit totals are usually above where I put my operations, so it's gonna be less impactful there. But treating those spaces differently is kind of interesting.
As far as who's getting booed at the TED Talk here, that's what I've been wondering. Is it the runner, and the runner is just completely embarrassed because you played this and you booed the runner at their own TED Talk? It seems good.
Yeah.
Honestly, my question here is we're hosting a TED Talk, and this comes back to what I was saying earlier about ego. Both corpse and runners are defined by their ego in some sense. So getting booted at your own TED Talk has to be a terrible thing, honestly.
Yeah, it does seem pretty rough. All right, well,
a quick rule. Before we move on, real quick. Are dots numbers?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think
I don't
know
if that's
I don't usually
influence.
Yeah, I guess it's I guess a dot is meaningful in numerical systems, but not always a number itself. So I don't know. All right.
Oh,
that's the wrong card. That's a funny mistake.
Well, I mean that's.
You know what? We'll just go with it. This is bite. This is a zero cost asset ambush. While the runner is accessing this asset in R&D, they must reveal it. When the runner accesses this asset anywhere except in archives, you may pay 4 credits. If you do, give the runner 1 tag and do 3 net damage. 0 to trash, 2 influence, and the flavor text, you thought you were safe?
I see we're on a trend of meta-textual flavor texts here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they're not too ostentatious for people that don't know the context. But I certainly enjoy them, so I'm not going to complain too much. But yeah, this is just Snare basically. Not even basically, it is just Snare with a new name. I will say is OP. I don't think you can just bring a copy of Snare. That said, if you get a sticker to put over the copy of the text Snare and just sticker it over with Bite, that probably will be a acceptable alt art. And OP is definitely going to talk about this policy some more in the future, but that's kind of my recommendation for now. Or talk to your local TO and figure out what makes sense for you.
The flavor text slaps the art absolutely rocks. I love this version of it.
Yeah. As much as that flavor text is meta of this card, it's also just very much about the access of the card. Both of the
it works on all
rotations.
levels.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I really appreciate the second set of teeth being Snare resembling more. I can't pull up the OG Snare, which is what those are echoing, but yeah, it's a great little callback there. Yeah, no, I think this is a well done reprint for sure. Yeah, or read label.
I think on a flavor level here, I have a couple of issues. This is named Bite, but I'm paying for it's dealing 1 tag and 3 net damage. Like, we need to have a smaller version called Bit or something. Honestly, I'm not getting to 8. I'm not getting any sense of 8.
Wait,
bits
but 4
from
plus 1 plus 3, right?
Bite here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Mm.
But yeah.
Someone needs to submit into the Neon Static meme release. What are you gonna do? Bite me? Just you can reuse it now.
Yeah, sent by Guy Bitten. All right. Oh wow, this is still not the card I thought we were going to. Jeez, these keep coming. Oh boy, and this one I am not going to pronounce it correctly at all. Simoon. This is a barrier AP for Jincheki. It is 3 res, 3 strength, and it has the text: the runner cannot break the printed subroutine on this ice except using a fractor. Then it has a single subroutine end the run unless the runner suffers 3 net damage. The flavor text: the silence of this forest is the surest sign of danger.
Another fantastic piece of art by Scott. Literally cannot miss. Imenga is awesome to see. Also, another 3 cost, 3 strength, 1 influence. So very importable if you need it.
Yeah, I think that it seems like it's priced to move, so to speak. And I think everyone's been talking about Crew and Botulus and this and what's it called, Audrey, and this seems like it is kind of positioned in the sort of classic swordsman anti cheat kind of space that Jinteki has often had.
This is very, very possible to Crew though.
Yeah, you definitely can crew it, but it's as a crew deck as a 3 cost. Are you excited to deal with a 3 strength 3 cost barrier? I feel like it's not your ideal target for a lot of crew decks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this feels very painful for Crim. I feel like Anarch is fine just eating the net damage off it, and Shaper might be, but Crim absolutely does not want to, and is probably trying to boomerang through this early. is going to be very
So
sad.
So interesting, because I was looking at breakers, and I thought that Crim are actually much happier with their breaker suite into this than Shaper is. Kurapira is 3 to fully break this, and you get to charge up your Kurapira, whereas like Goss is 1 to break the first time and then 3 to break the subsequent times, and you're just spending 3. Like, you're not getting further value. And like propeller, 2 propeller counters, like 2 power counters on your propeller is
A lot. Yeah. And then pressure spike is spending 3 still on a 4 cost.
Still on the 4 cost on a 3 cost ice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And then we've got, what's the new one? Oh my goodness.
Rising Tide, of course, looks pretty
Principia.
good at this eventually.
Principia is, yeah.
Principia is, I think, 2 base strength.
Yeah, so it's still 3. Yeah, so you're always
So again,
paying.
we're looking at 3 to break this.
Yeah, it's like almost always
Game
3. It's
dragons.
3 to break for everything. Like the 3 base strength seems pretty solid. But like
Yeah.
Kurapira is the only thing
Well, we're
generating
doing right
value
there,
there. So
Exactly. Now, Shaper can potentially have Game Dragon Pro, and that can bring some of those break costs down to 1, which is a big deal, but that's behind, spending 2 and like installing your Game Dragon Pro, so you're not coming out ahead the first time, you're not starting to get ahead till the second time that you go through, really.
The loss of Cleaver is felt for the better, but
yeah,
this would have been unplayable
Mhm.
in the current meta, and it's going to be rough now.
So sort of the way this subroutine is structured, of course, reminds me a lot of Formicary, which
That's a
was
good
another
shout-out.
conditional ETR, unless net damage.
Yeah, and I always felt like people were like, "Oh man, that's just like as a strong effect." And I was just like, maybe it's because I was playing a lot of Shaper at the time, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll just or Anarch," and I was just like, "Yeah, this 2 net damage might as well be nothing." But so it'll be interesting how this ends up evolving into the runner meta that resolves.
I think 3 damage is, more than 50% more than 2, and Jinteki has. I mean, I'm right.
Yeah, doing it in Jinteki
and-
is definitely more scary.
And Jinteki has much more plausible threats behind this. Like, I'm going to run through this, I'm going to take 3, and then I'm going to steal the Fuji? Am I sure this was right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, and actually the other shout out there, right, is if we're talking about damage on agendas, Dangan.
Oh yeah. I was like waiting for you to say it. I'm like, yep. Bangin is like this is a pretty good splash potential
Yeah.
for Wayland because this also makes your remote much harder to run through early by cheating it.
And 1 influence, very splashable.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, I think we're finally going to get to the card I was expecting us to get to 2 cards ago. We've got peer review. This is a 4-cost operation transaction. Reveal all but 1 card in HQ. Gain 7 credits. You may install 1 card from HQ in the root of a remote server. Peer reviews the differences between living in the arcs and living in the slums. Clone line gene engineering. Gengineering never made anything as vicious or cutthroat as a Jinteki scientist. This is 2 influence. I also will shout out the molecule being pointed at is, well, I know it as Glickneck. It's oh shoot. Oh my goodness! Now I'm completely farting on this. But anyway, it's part of the chemical composition of chitin. It has some other also natural uses, but yeah.
Once again, answering my first question before I could get it out there. Well done. So, if you have 1 card in hand, then you play this.
Yep.
Or more to the point, you have 2 cards in hand. This is one of them. You play it.
Yep.
You reveal nothing.
You make 3
Gain
credits and you reveal nothing. Yeah. and then you get to install the unknown card in your hand. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that seems solid.
A lot of terms and conditions on that install, but I like
it. Yeah, it definitely feels, like if I'm PT Utani and only have 3 cards in my hand, or maybe even fewer, like this card looks kind of interesting. I'm paying as very little of the cost, and I'm kind of getting like a souped up greasing the palm out of this. I think that's an interesting. Yeah. It is interesting to see an effect that's so similar in Jinteki and HB historically have been like rival factions. So it's interesting to see them have a very similar effect, slightly different costs and payouts, but like a kind of rhyming effects. So
yeah, you get 1 more credit, but you have to reveal your cards.
Yes, I think this actually plays pretty differently, because I think one of the big comes we saw for Greasing the Palm was in the Shoot the Moon style decks, where it was a way to sort of get incidental value while you were trying to clear cards out of your hand after you drew up to 10 and then played your digital life. And now you want to go like Greasing the Palm, install a thing, Greasing the Palm, install a thing, and now you're back down to like 6 cards or 5 cards, and that's fine. So it's just a way to sort of, if you're discarding these cards anyways, why not get 2 credits for them? And maybe even an advancement counter sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think Pure wants you to go, all right, I've got a hand of 10 cards, and this is how I install it with greater value. Because then you're revealing way more information. But we have the sort of classic Jinteki like mind game thing where, okay, I showed you most of my hand, but there's one thing I didn't, and now I'm going to install one of them, but I'm not telling you which one, and it might be one of the ones you know, or it might be one of the ones you don't know.
Yeah, it is. I pulled up Celebrity Gift a moment ago. It's a fun kind of revisit for a more aggressive tempo era. You're right, because it's like Celebrity Gift was spend basically 2/3 of your turn to make credits, and you only want to play it on a full hand, pretty much. Though I definitely remember playing it with like 7 cards in hand somehow, and being like, all right, I'll keep some secrets, and that was always a fun element. And I like that peer review is letting you do that little bit of like a known unknown thing, but with a more like price to move, and always kind of giving that sense of uncertainty that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think in peer review, you want to have sabotage as many of your peers ahead of time as possible, and be giving your presentation to a rigged audience.
Sounds like science.
So actually, that's another interesting thing I'm going to shout out here, is because this is an install. It's an optional install, but it's still an install. I think you will really try to. What you choose to reveal is very interesting, right? Because you reveal 3 operations and then install a thing. The runner knows that whatever you installed is definitionally not one of the cards that you revealed. So there's some very interesting information bleed in a fashion that you can't quite entirely control.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna, just for the sake of this meeting, I'm now almost half an hour late. Oh, sorry, Coldlava. You can jump.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just saying, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is our first NBN card. This is embedded reporting. This was in a very nice article on, I want to say Card Gamer is the name of the magazine. Oh, I feel terrible now that I don't remember that. Off this.
Yeah, that was it, I think.
Okay. But it's NBN's 3/2. It's an agenda subtype initiative. Dividends 2. When you score this agenda, place 2 agenda counters on it for each excess advancement counter. When your discard phase ends, you may remove 1 hosted agenda counter to search R&D for 1 operation and reveal it. Shuffle R&D after searching it. Add that operation to the top of R&D. So, yeah, this is the last of the 3/2s we got to see. I'm kind of curious what people think about this one. I also want to shout out, I think the art on this is fantastic. and it's so really like the multi-layer of space is just really really well done.
The art is cool. There's Topon again, I believe, and a
Yeah.
cat. Although I don't know why there's a cat in this situation, but there's a cat. I love it.
And why do we not have this cat on some other card? That's the other important question.
Exactly.
Why did the art team deny us a second picture of this cat?
Also, NBN breaking the mold with dividends 2 instead of dividends 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels really similar to the Wayland one. The Wayland one is less restrictive, but I still feel like you're often going to. Oh, the Wayland one also installs, but
Yeah.
if it's going on top of the deck, you're often going to get an operation. Yeah, I'm having a hard time, I guess, judging whether or not I'm going to get an operation and put it on my deck, or put a card in the server. But I feel like getting an operation is at least what we classically did with Atlas. So getting 2 for 1 feels very strong.
That was an operation to hand, though.
Yes, true. But locking the top of your deck with not like an untrashable operation, it is in some ways a benefit.
Yes, if there's a shout out here is like this is. Are you worried about losing to a random access on the top of R&D? Don't be. Just lock R&D yourself for 2 turns by scoring this 4-2.
Yep. And there's something in the last cycle that worked off of looking at your top card, right?
Yes. Balanced
predicting what it was?
coverage.
Balanced coverage or federal fundraising, I can't remember which one.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
The one that doesn't refer to fundraising makes you credits for knowing the top card of your deck. So.
Oh God, I see someone in chat calling out. You might accidentally spin it away. Don't do that.
Oh yeah, that would feel pretty bad if you have to pop a spin doctor for some other reason. But like, if embedded reporting is optional, so if you feel like you're gonna want to use a spin doctor, you could just not use embedded reporting, or you could use the spin doctor before you use the embedded reporting trigger.
Yeah, tell that to Coldlava in 2 months when I do that.
Yeah, it's hey, look, you can't play this card in op, so you don't need to worry quite so much about shuffling every turn.
But I will say, as someone that's been primarily playing Big Beal for the past 2 years, this is not a Beal replacement.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting that Wayland and HB got this is thematically along the same lines, and then NBA is like, here's an entirely new effect for your faction, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, like there's been NBN operations.
That's fair. That's
before.
fair. Very nice. All right. Gonna keep this.
One quick shout out: digital rights management.
Oh yeah. What's the synergy here, or is this just like a?
This is just a if you're locking the top of R&D yourself, but have a remote that you can score in, you can put a digital rights management on top, and then go find your agenda and install it into your remote safely, and it's just clearing through your hand, and while keeping the top of R&D safe.
That's an interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's an interesting idea. And then you're telling the runner you have to run HQ, and maybe that's not something they wanted to do. And having a non-agenda on top of R&D is inherently quite valuable. Very nice. All right. Next up, we got. Oh no, Idiosyncrasis. This is an asset hostile 1 to res. You can advance this asset. When your turn begins, you may trash this asset. If you do, for each hosted advancement counter, gain 3 credits, and the runner loses 2 credits. You don't really want to know what makes you unique as a person. It's so much less than you think. And this is 2 influence out of NBN. Who's got some thoughts on this one?
Is the runner just play this for BTL tempo?
I mean, yeah. This is the card that scared me the most, I feel like.
It's a scary
Definitely the
one.
flavor checks. That's a horrifying thought.
It really, that is like, I don't usually just get completely humbled by the card game I opt into playing.
Right? Yeah. Reminds me a little bit of what was the one with the Adam Dialar with the hands?
The Adam Doyle over the ad. Okay, yeah, that's narrowed it down to like
yeah.
half of the arts. He's
Ubiquitous Vig. Ubiquitous Vig is kind of what it reminds me of. It's
Yes,
like a little
yes.
asset that you put into play, you advance and get money off of it. But this one steals money, which is
I mean, this
Yeah, it's
I would
mean.
I would say, unlike Ubiquitous Vig, I think this card's probably playable. So
yes, there's that too.
I
uh,
actually see this before as like clearinghouse.
That's probably a more apt.
yeah. I mean, like, genuinely, sometimes this might be better than Clearinghouse, because it's like Clearinghouse is like, I either fire it when it wins me the game, or it's kind of a useless card. Whereas like this can generate a tempo, so it has more of that like middle range of power.
Yeah, you can
kind
fire
of.
at 3 counters, and you're like, okay, you're broke, and I can rush things with these 9 credits.
Yeah.
I mean, the card it's definitely the most similar to is reversed accounts. And I believe so. The runner loses less and you gain some, but you're also that
It's
was
also
essentially a 3 credit swing because it was cost you 1 for the advancement and you lost 4. But here it's a 4 credit swing because it's just slightly better numbers.
Yeah, though it costs 1 to res, so on a single counter, it's basically comes out all to the same. So it's the second counter that matters more. The other, I think, big
Just give it a
change
click.
is that it doesn't cost a click, but it is a when your turn begins trigger. So you have less flexibility on when you fire this, and you're not going to have any dedication ceremony. Though this is oh, there we go. Dedication ceremony nonsense with this.
Yeah, or like you also can't do Hollow Man. I have a friend that plays a deck with Hollow Man, and the plan is to trash something to retrieve a Ronin on your Hollow Man, so you can Hollow Man your Ronin.
Hmm.
Sorry, I think it's Fire Urban Renewal trashes itself, finds Ronin, then you click Hollow Man and fire the Ronin. As a kill line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is again, you can't Hollow Man in the same way with this as you can with closed accounts. Market, I can't remember the advanceable credit train one we were just looking at. Reversed accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is definitely a scary looking card. So I'll be very interested to see how much it ends up showing up and how scary it ends up being. I am a little bit worried about Proctivos. Any card that is a Proctivos card is always a scary card to me. But we'll have to see. And maybe. Oh no, this won't even be rezzed in time for our Charm Offensive. So that's tough. All right. Next up, we got Bigger Picture. This is a Gray Ops. Play only if the runner is tagged. Resolve one of the following. Give the runner 1 tag. Remove any number of tags. The runner loses 5 credits for each tag removed this way. Gain credits equal to the number of credits the runner lost, and this is 2 influence. I also want to shout out, I love this art. It's quite good, and it also, you might recognize it from the World's branding. It works very well for that. So
The art is spectacular, and it was an awesome choice for the World's branding.
I think the just very zoomed out view of this city is great if you have a card named Bigger Picture, because this is, I think, one of the single biggest area shots we've seen. And I think that's supposed to be Meat Space.
Yeah, Meat Space with like a
you know,
digital layer on top of it,
augmented
kind of
reality.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we have a lot of like office buildings, or this warehouse, or this Wayland executive with his feet on a desk.
Yeah, which window is he looking out of here?
I know I saw this image for the world's branding, I think, right around the time of the Plutus story. And I thought that this line was gonna be the line that was in the Plutus story of seeing the person's life like move through the city and up the beanstalk. But I don't know that that's quite what this is.
You know, it's kind of funny looking at this card. This is like Big Brother, which is a card that saw no play at all. You know, and it's also at the same time as it Market Forces, kind of stapled together. And like having a, you know, generally a modal card makes a card even better, but Market Forces was like just already good. So, you know, this definitely seems like it's an interesting card for sure.
Yeah. The comparison to Big Brother is gonna be, yeah, that's the weird one, because I know Big Brother saw next to no play, but I think that was at a time where, well,
yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say like the reason was because a single tag meant you could go scorch and win the game, and so like why bother with getting a second tag or a third tag?
yeah, or if you weren't on kill, you had closed accounts, and single tag was good enough as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, in a world where we have end of the line and we need 2 tags to kill, you might float 1 tag thinking you're safe, and then you get bigger picture end of the line, and that's it.
yeah. I think that's a
Yeah, so the
neat
other thing with-
neat change.
So bigger picture does work well with itself. Like if the runner floats 1 turn, you can go bigger picture, and then even bigger picture and remove. And it's also any number. Like it's not remove all tags. It's remove any number. So like if you want to just drain 10 and leave them floating a tag, if they have 3 tags, cool. You can do that.
Yeah, you can end the runner's whole career and still have a card left over to do it again.
And this is actually potentially relevant, especially if you want to, like, the runner has 2 tags, so you fire off a bigger picture because it fires from 0, and like they took the tag because they ran HQ with the new account siphon thing.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting what it's called.
Transfer of wealth.
But like transfer of wealth, right? So they're tagged. You're at 0. You play. You've got 2 bigger pictures. You play bigger picture, and then you to give them a tag, and then you play a bigger picture to remove 1 of their tags and gain 5 because you want to trash some resource they have, and now you have the money for that off the 1 bigger picture.
Yeah, that seems like a very powerful setup and payoff. And yeah, being in your own setup and your own payoff is a nice way to find a slot in decks.
Yeah, this card is just so good. Like the 2 modes are both relevant. They're both put the runner deeper in a hole.
Yeah.
Like,
Very
you can
cool.
dig it for them if they don't already. Like, it's just mean. I love it.
Yeah.
Also, just briefly, a quick note about mechanics that I want to just shout out that I love in this set so far. That we saw a little bit earlier, but we're seeing it more now. Spending tags for an effect is such a cool design space.
Yeah.
I love it so much more than runners just holding on to tags and it being a weird floating nebulous condition. This is so much more interesting, and I love seeing it more.
Yeah, and this, that's also, this is maybe a nice synapse payoff as well, right? That's going to trigger the ID. So we've got some nice little tie-in on an interesting card. All right, I'm going to move on.
Timing. Do you get if you take the second mode, do you get the credits in time for the well, I guess it ignores all costs, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you're ignoring all costs, it doesn't matter. Yeah, thankfully.
Yep.
Cool. Because yeah, I think otherwise it wouldn't, but fortunately, ignoring all costs is a good line of text to have. All right, our final card for the day. Yep. Final card for the day is Green Mail. This is a 2/1 agenda expansion subtype. When you score this agenda, gain 2 credits. When you forfeit this agenda, gain 4 credits. It's been a real pleasure doing business with you for the flavor text.
Just something about the name I noticed is that Wayland is so known for blackmail that they renamed it after them.
I hadn't thought about that as being the flavor, but you're right. That totally is.
Fun fact: green mail is a real term.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It is a kind of hostile takeover. Note the name there.
Oh,
It is,
jeez, that
Yeah,
people are too clever. Ugh.
it's essentially it's like a financial thing where you buy a bunch of shares from one company to threaten a hostile takeover, which then makes them buy them back at a premium to prevent it. So you,
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's free to take over your company unless you pay us a bunch of money to buy your shares back.
exactly.
You paid us a bunch of money to buy your shares back. Cool, I made a bunch of money. This is great.
More money than I was going to make operating your company.
Yeah.
And yeah, this did have I should say this shout had like a fan video for it, so people should definitely go and check that out. I will include the links in the description a little bit after this video goes up permanently on YouTube. I ran out of time this evening. But yeah, I mean, this seems like a pretty I struggle to call this a true upgrade to Hostile Takeover, but it definitely seems like it can go in more Wayland decks than Hostile Takeover would because of the loss of the bad pub is, I think, pretty significant.
Yeah, I guess it does, because it does the same thing at the end of the game. If you're scoring this to win, who cares about the rest of the text?
Yeah,
it doesn't push you forward like Hostile Takeover did.
That's true.
Were just like, what? Unless you're ready to immediately forfeit it.
Yeah, I guess I meant like, oh yeah, if we're thinking about fast advanced decks, then
Never having run one hostile to go pick up.
Yeah.
So, green mail's not like great if you aren't forfeiting it, right? It's when you score the score 2. I don't. Okay, this is about equal to like post-truth dividend, which is when you score this draw a card.
Yeah.
And no one's rushing out to play post-truth dividend that I've seen.
Yeah, I know. I saw today people talking about how the fact that this can trigger Zwicky twice, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning too. Yeah.
Is Vicky? Yeah. Is Vicky first time a turn? Yeah. So you have to score it one turn and forfeit a different turn, which is probably going to happen anyway. But
yeah, this reses Biowalk for net free, but I think it's
you need the credits.
You need to have the 4 credits to res Biowalk when you forfeit the green mail, and then you can bounce back. You can't forfeit the green mail, gain the 4 credits, and use those to res.
So one nice thing here is with Zwicky, like forfeiting is how you're going to forfeiting this is how you're going to gain credits from an agenda on the runner's turn.
Yes. Yeah, so you get some extra draw. And you can even do that with Plutus on like the end of the runner's turn rather than the start of your turn. So you actually get the extra trigger too. Yeah,
I'm not.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't love this if I'm not planning to forfeit this, right? And there's only so much forfeiting you can power in your deck. Like I don't want to be throwing send the messages into my forfeits. I don't want to be throwing I want to be throwing exactly green mail. How many cards can I support with just green mail to forfeit? And yes, sometimes you'll forfeit other things, but
it's going to be a little. It's going to be a little squeeze for space as Hostile Takeover has been with Eminent Domain in play, because a lot of the things that you're forfeiting this for, people will Eminent one out, and then you have an Eminent scored that you can forfeit to the second copy. People often ran 2 archers, you score 1 Eminent, get 1. forfeit the eminence to the other. I expect the same with Biowalk. So we'll
Yeah.
see if this can
Mhm.
fight for that space.
Yeah, I think in like a
And,
true
we're
fast
rotating,
advanced deck,
upper count
this
is rotating.
yeah, that's true. We're losing a decent number of forfeit effects, and we're only getting 2 back. So going to be a narrower space. Maybe we'll see more forfeit out of Wayland in the future. It's definitely a very Wayland coded mechanic. So I wouldn't be surprised if like this is a little bit quiet now, but has some time in the sun in the future. All right. Well, apologies. I really do have to get going. I want to I want to thank all 3 of you for coming on. I want to thank everyone in chat for hanging out. This has been a ton of fun. Apologies to end the daily cast elevation spoiler season in sort of an abrupt manner. But thank you, everyone. Thanks to all 3 of my guests. And this is the last stream of this. I'm going to hopefully get some other stuff out soon. But I hope everyone enjoys Elevation launch, and I look forward to seeing what everyone brews with these cards.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Good night.